Hello and welcome to Nelson All Over Cards. My name is Nelson and today we're doing another Deck Factory video where we're taking a look at a singular card and talking about it. The members of the YouTube channel voted and we chose that today's card of the week is going to be Problem Solvers. So we're going to talk about Problem Solvers and build a deck around the card. And while we're doing this, make sure that you're thinking about Problem Solvers so that you can build a deck and submit it either here in the comments or join us on Discord and earn some sweet imaginary internet points by building it there. The link for that Discord is in the video description. So let's talk about Problem Solvers. It's a 4-cost Justice Thwart event that came to us in the Valkyrie Hero Pack. It is an alliance card, which means that when you play it, any player at the table can help pay for that card's cost, which is super nice because 4 is a lot to stomach. It has a hero action to exhaust a Avenger character and a Guardian character to remove X threats from every scheme on the table, where X is equal to the combined thwart of those two characters. So right off the back, this card just screams multiplayer to me. Not only can you have other players help pay for that super high cost, but since exhausting characters is part of the cost of the card, they can also help pay for that. Therefore, if you have a multiplayer game where you have an Avenger and a Guardian hero at the table, when we play this card, we can exhaust both the heroes and just remove a lot of threat, which brings me to my next point. This is a lot of threat. Removing minimum like 2, I guess, if you have 2 characters with 1 thwart, but probably more like 4 plus because a lot of our heroes have 2, or if we're running Justice, higher thwarting, like 3. We're looking at a lot of threat. A lot of threat from every scheme is a big deal, especially if we're multiplayer where we have an increased likelihood of having multiple side schemes on the table because we're just seeing more encounter cards. Let's talk about the efficiency of the card, because it's kind of a fun card because we can hit the efficiency in a few different ways. This is the most expensive thwarting event in the game. Well, I guess it was before we got pool inspection, but I would argue that exhausting 2 characters pushes the total cost of this card above that, but whatever. It comes in with a big impact. For 5 effective resource costs, the efficiency curve, we're looking to hope to get like 7 to 8 threat removal from this card. If we have no side schemes in play, we can get that efficiency from exhausting, let's say, like Captain Marvel with Heroic Intuition and Rocket with Heroic Intuition and Thruster Boots. That would be 7 threat if we exhaust both of those characters from the main scheme. But that's probably not when we're going to be using this card. We can get the efficiency from having like 1 side scheme and taking 4 threat off of it and the main, because we get to remove it from every single scheme on the table, and we only need 2 thwart characters, or characters with 2 thwart, to get that efficiency. This is more likely and pretty easily to do, especially now that we have player side schemes. So we can create our own fate here and get a player side scheme out. And if we have that in a side scheme exhausting 2 thwart heroes, player side scheme main gets us 12 thwarting, which is incredibly efficient, but at what cost? See, there's more cost than just the effective cost of this card. Yes, we're dumping like our whole hand to play this, or if a nice player at the table wants to help, maybe we can like cue them into helping pay for it, but we're exhausting 2 heroes or characters, and we'll get there in 1 second. So if we both have a 2 thwart, then we need to consider the opportunity cost of thwarting by themselves out of the equation. So let's rewind to our last example, 12 thwarts. We exhausted 2 thwart heroes, and we removed 4 threat from every scheme. So 12 thwart, that's a lot. But because we lose the 2 activations, they could have thwarted by themselves for 4 thwart. So now we're actually only looking at 8 thwart total as the impact of this card. So there's a little bit of math going on here, and I think it's actually a really fun card to talk about because of the different ways that you can pay and the different ways that you can hit the efficiency. But we are wanting to remove a significant chunk of threat, and this card can do it. I teased it a little bit earlier. You do not have to exhaust your hero. It does say character, which includes your allies if you want to use this card to remove threats with their stats instead of your hero stats. This can be especially helpful because it keeps the allies around longer and does not cause them to take consequential damage because you're just exhausting them. But allies typically have a lower thwart value than heroes, so we have to take that into consideration. We can also use cards like Heroic Intuition to help buff our hero's thwart stats, and there's little ways to increase the thwart stat for Guardian Avenger allies in the Justice aspect. But since this is mostly a multiplayer card, maybe you can kind of ping your leadership partner to help bring along some like common plants or something to help boost those thwart stats up for our allies, and we can start looking at the efficiency that we can get from problem solvers with multiple characters or multiple players boosting up allies that we can use to help pay the cost of problem solvers. Basically what I'm trying to say, the card is very expensive and you can have huge impacts on the table if you build and hopefully the rest of the table builds for problem solvers. That being said, let's chat a little bit about solo play, because I don't think it's totally out of the question to run this card in solo. It's probably better options out there, but it's a fun card to talk about. Now, if we are running solo, you have to exhaust at least one ally. You could do two. You could have an Avenger and a Guardian ally out there and exhaust both of these for the cost of problem solvers, but we're probably not going to be getting that efficiency that we want. What we're probably doing is looking at your hero and an ally that are going to be exhausted. Now, what I'm thinking here is running this card in solo, I want to be running player side schemes to help me push this card into the efficiency range that we're looking for. And I saved it for this conversation, but this card also probably can be run in any problem-solving multiplayer deck too, one way or another. One way or another, we can go find a side scheme, put it into play, which helps our efficiency of play of problem solvers and draws us more cards to help play problem solvers, and that just sounds like a good combo right there. So when I'm running solo, I want to be running with a high thwart character, running one way or another, and probably some player side schemes in order for me to even consider hitting the efficiency that we would need to pay a 5 effective resource cost card. This is a multiplayer card, but as you will see in the deck build, I'm going to try it for solo, but it's going to be a multiplayer card. Last thing I want to talk about before we kind of dive into the deck building is that this is a villain dependent card. This card is awesome because it gets stupid good when there are more than one permanent schemes out there. What I'm thinking is like Tower Defense, which has 2 schemes, Venom Goblin, which has 3. Soon in Age of Apocalypse, we're getting the Unis with Gene Traders coming out. That's going to add a permanent side scheme, which we can start just getting our efficiency, because now we don't have to hope that there's a player side scheme, hope that there's a side scheme that we drew from the encounter deck. We have multiple side schemes on the table, and these are the types of cards that get really fun when it comes to deck building for a specific scenario, especially like some of those hardest scenarios in the game, like Venom Goblin, where problem solvers can just solve a lot of issues for us because we're removing from every single scheme on the table. What heroes do we want to be running problem solvers with? Now, characters with a high thwart can really like this card, and we're probably, even though it's not required, we're probably keeping it in the Avenger or Guardian realm. It can be a bit hard if your hero doesn't have the trait. It can be done, and I'm hoping to see someone submit a deck where we're using problem solvers, where we are running like an X-Men character or something, and not an Avenger or Guardian, because I think that'd be a lot of fun. The main ones that jumped into my head were like Rocket. He can get up to 3 thwart with his thruster boots, and then if we run Heroic Intuition, we get that 4 thwart on Rocket, so that's pretty cool. I've got a plan does count for this. Now, there's just a lot of threat at that point, so Rocket, problem solvers, probably multiplayer. Looking at Cap can get 3 thwart with his Fearless Determination. It came in Valkyrie's pack, which is a character I don't think I would ever run with this card. But because this card is mainly a multiplayer card, there's actually a pretty good roster of heroes who could justify running it. If you have a 2 thwart and you're running Heroic Intuition and you're running a 4-player game, you could talk yourself into running this card, which makes it kind of fun and makes it kind of open for what characters we can run with it. I chose a hero that, while it may not be optimal, can run this in solo. And the deck I built is meant to be a flex between multiplayer and solo. So let's jump down to the table and check out how Star-Lord is going to use problem solvers. If you want to embrace chaos, you came to the right place, because this is a Star-Lord deck. Now, like we said before, we are going to be utilizing problem solvers to remove a lot of threat. Now, this is going to be a flex deck. It's going to be so much better in multiplayer, but I really wanted to try and make this work in solo. So I'm going to talk about some of the changes that I would do if we know we're going into a multiplayer matchup. But this is the deck that I'm going to be running solo on stream. Now, problem solvers, we already got a Guardian. We need some Avengers. We've got speed And we've got Spider-Man. Now, these are two pretty high-cost Avengers, but they both have a 2 thwart. So combine that with Star-Lord's 2 thwart, our problem solver is going to be removing 4 thwarts from every single scheme, every single scheme on the table. Now, we do have Gamora that we can use instead of Star-Lord's activation, but we probably want to be using Gamora to attack or thwart because of her response. Now, if we use her to exhaust for problem solvers, we do not get her response. However, Star-Lord breaks the rules in more ways than one, but the most beneficial way that he breaks our rules today is his little sentence right here that says every single character you control, or every single ally you control, gains the Guardian trait. That means that Blindfold, Captain Britain, Dazzler, and X, as well as, I guess, I didn't pull them out, but Nova Prime, have the Guardian trait. Now, we can use Star-Lord's basic activation to exhaust 4 problem solvers, but if we're already exhausted and we are running solo here, so we want to probably be using his activation for something else, since we already have so much thwarting in our kit, we need to spread out and take care of more aspects of the game. We can exhaust any one of these characters, or we can exhaust both Speed and Spider-Man to fulfill Avenger and Guardian, because Spider-Man's also a Guardian, or Speed's also a Guardian. Now, these are high thwart, high impact characters. They are expensive. Star-Lord has the ability to deal himself a face down encounter card in order to reduce the cost of any card that he plays by 3. So any of these allies that cost more than 3, which all of them do, that was strategic, can be used with his What Can Go Wrong ability. So can problem solvers. One of the biggest issues, or maybe even the biggest issue, with problem solvers in true solo is that 4 cost. Now, if we use the What Can Go Wrong ability, we're paying 1 cost for problem solvers. Is that going to be worth it? Maybe. And this deck is going to set us up so that it is. Now, we can exhaust any of these characters to fulfill the cost of problem solvers. And just for icing on the cake, we got Leader, the Guardians, and all of our Guardian characters, which is everybody when we're in hero form, gets +1 thwart. Now, Speed and Spider-Man, if they're the ones exhausting, we're removing 6 thwarts from every single side scheme on the table. Overkill? Yeah, probably. Again, gonna be a lot better in multiplayer, and it works in multiplayer. Each one of these, since they gain the Guardian trait whenever we play them in hero form, we can draw a card off of nowhere, but this also works because we want to probably have more than 3 allies out on the table at any given time. Therefore, nowhere helps us do that. We're gonna start stacking some stuff because I think I'm gonna run out of room. I'll make these, yeah, there we go, perfect. Ally lineup, there we go. We need scheme and we need threat on the table. We're removing it from every single one. I don't want to have to luck into drawing side schemes in order for this strategy to work. So we're bringing player side schemes. We've got Take Out the Guards, we've got Lay the Trap, we've got Superpower Training, we've got Build Support, and we've got Specialized Training. And this is where that difference in solo and multiplayer starts to take place, because in solo, we are going to grab Combat Specialist as our linked card. Because we want Star-Lord to be doing a basic activation and attacking, because our allies are handling thwarting, when we get +1 attack, and whenever we make a basic attack, we get to draw a card. So Combat Specialist is going to be fantastic for us here. If we are in multiplayer, we're going to be looking at Surveillance Specialist and be the dedicated thwarter. And then Star-Lord can get that 4 thwart with Leader of the Guardians out. Now we're just removing threat from everywhere. Also in multiplayer, ask a friend to run Avengers and you can drop these 2 characters from the game. You can take out Spider-Man and Speed, and that does put you at 40 cards. Solo, we're running at 42. So a little bit of a change there. This is not going to be enough threat for us to hit that efficiency curve, so we're also going to be running one way or another. This is the epitome of chaos. We're dealing encounter cards, we're running one way or another. What could go wrong? This is chaos. So one way or another brings out a side scheme. We have player side schemes. Problem solvers at that point is probably, if we can set it up correctly, have 3 schemes to remove threat from, and now like a exhaustion of Captain Britain and Spider-Man is going to be taking 7 threat from everything, which is going to clear almost every single scheme in solo. trying to think if there's any that it doesn't. I'm sure there is, but all the ones that are coming to mind, like fetch quest is 6. So like there's a lot of big schemes, and this clears most of them. We're going to include a skilled investigator because we want to be drawing cards whenever we clear a side scheme. We're going to be running Kit here because once we sink those resources into Kit, we can ready up a Guardian character. That could be Gamora if we want more card draw. That could be Star-Lord if we need more attack, or more thwarting if we've used problem solvers with Star-Lord because we had to exhaust Star-Lord for problem solvers. Now we could use Kit, ready, and then attack, triggering our combat specialist, drawing us an extra card. And then the last half of this deck, which could be modified again for multiplayer, probably actually definitely would be modified for our multiplayer, is using Think Fast, which then gives us 4 sources of Confuse. We got 2 Think Fasts, Professor X and Dazzler, which is going to allow us to run Float like a butterfly. Because we're running our basic activation over here for Combat Specialist, we've got Star-Lord attacking, Float, and we're not really flipping down with this deck. We're going to be chump blocking, we're going to be cycling allies, especially these Professor X's, Blindfolds, and Dazzlers. We're going to be cycling those, and heck, maybe even Nova Prime, because we get to defeat minions when we play Nova Prime. Because we're cycling those allies, we're going to be staying in hero form, chump blocking as much as we possibly can with our allies, and then keeping our confuses on the villain for a roll down maybe every third, or not every other turn, but every third turn, or protecting us against advances. Flow Like a Butterfly and Star-Lord are best friends because we also have Element Guns, which does get that bonus damage whenever we sink a card into Element Gun. So we can Element Gun a confused enemy for 4 damage for 1 resource, which is pretty awesome. And then we're going to be topping it off with the doubles, and that is the Star-Lord Problem Solver deck. It's chaos. It is absolute chaos. I'm really looking forward to playing this on stream. I'm filming this on Sunday, so I guess tomorrow I'm going to be playing this on stream, and it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. But let's go back up to the face cam and we'll close out. Awesome. I hope you liked the deck. I had a ton of fun reading the submitted names for last week's Hard Knocks deck. So I think in the future I'm going to avoid naming any of these decks and ask for suggestions, because that was a ton of fun. So what do you think that we should call the Star-Lord Problem Solvers deck? Let me know that and share your decks and thoughts about Problem Solvers in the comments, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. Thank you so very much for hanging out. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I will see you next time. Peace.